The City Council has had a long history of protecting theatres. How else should the City Council support theatres through planning policy?
Thank you very much. Stanley Hales from Really Useful Group. The Taste 6 policy, which protects theatres, is something we wholly support. So there's no question that I don't want to see all the West End theatres turned into shoe shops and warehouses. I think where I'd like some thought put in is on Taste 5, which is the secondary uses within theatres. Taste 5 is fairly clear. An additional commercial use to a theatre is not permitted unless it's a benefit to the theatre. And I think the area that I'd like explored a little more is the benefit issue. It's unclear really as what the benefit is. Obviously, if I was developing a rehearsal studio on top of a theatre, that's part of the use, and it's certainly a benefit to the theatre. If I was developing 6 penthouse flats, it's not part of the use of the theatre, but it certainly could be a benefit to the theatre if it was proposed that, for example, the rent for the flats or the freehold or the leasehold value of the flats was put back into the theatre. And this is not necessarily a personal thing for our company, it's also, I think it's a protection in that commercial use, especially in the commercial theatre market, we must remember that theatre is clearly divided into 2 specific areas, commercial and subsidised. The commercial area is wholly commercial. We are responsible for our own profits and losses. And the input of commercial functions into theatres can be of use, but does need to be controlled. And I think it would be, and I'm not trying to tell you how to do this, but I think it would be better for Taste 5 to be just a little more specific on what it regards as benefit. So that, for example, if we were to develop or seek to develop a site adjacent or above or under a theatre for a wholly commercial use, we would expect the policy to be more specific on what the benefit required is. I mean, in my view, its financial benefit is that anything should be symbiotic and any profit should be ploughed back into the building and not run off somewhere else. But I would actually like that to be a little more specific rather than just a general benefit comment, because it's quite a short paragraph in Taste 5, which covers a multitude of things. And for us, it's important, if we were to look at projects, there's an awful lot of development costs to be put into looking at a project and then deciding, well, actually, no, we don't think it's going to sort of pass by on Taste 5, and we wasted the money. It'd be nicer to know that there was a specific, if you're going to earn a profit, as long as the profit goes back into the building for the benefit of the building, then that would be fine. That's it, so I'll shut up.
I think planning policy could support theatre through possibly, for example, S106 funding supporting youth theatres or a youth theatre or youth theatre premises to build the appetite amongst younger people for performing arts in both the subsidised sector and the commercial sector. I also think there's quite a need for affordable rehearsal and performance space for community arts groups, and I've done some surveys amongst the cultural sector, and there's a clear need for affordable performance and especially rehearsal space.
Can I ask whether anybody an additional question? Does anybody think there is a need for more performance space for community groups?
Sorry. So in the survey I did, there definitely was. It was one of the things that people in the cultural sector wanted, although it wasn't the topmost request.
Graham Dixon again. I find it difficult to put into words what I wish to express, but it's the whole general area of subsidised theatre, stroke commercial theatre, because I think some theatre projects are commercial but need support from local authorities. And that support could possibly be in the providing infrastructure. For example, rehearsal rooms, performance space, etc., where the grant is not given as a cash, but the infrastructure is there for the projects.
Sorry, I thought I'd taken a vow of silence. I don't think we lack spaces. I think we lack the funding for the activities, and that's my observation. You can have performances in underused tenants' halls, and I think the cockpit in my area, and I think there are lots of spaces if you look around. What is lacking is the funding for the young people to put on, drama and so on. It's the activity that needs the funding, and I have never understood why public art is simply restricted to sculpture. I always think funding for public art should go to performance, putting on performances.
Is it lady at the back?
Corinne Bogard, Union Dance. I would second all of those recommendations, but also state that for youth and for professional dance and for theatre, a lot of buildings were lost in terms of cost when the lottery came in, because the cost was higher for hiring spaces after that. In fact, considerably more so. So I would say that it's important that the infrastructure is consolidated.
If it's an issue of space and looking for accommodation for arts, say for example rehearsal studios, this sort of thing, and where you're looking at mixed-use developments, new-use developments, if the need is perceived to be so strong within the West End in particular, then could it not form part of your mixed-use requirements for a building, say, in lieu of provision of argument's sake, residential, you might put instead theatre performance. So you elevate its importance as a mixed-use planning component within a scheme, for example. So rather than an office development coming along, a more valuable office development coming along that would otherwise have to provide a quantum of residential, it might provide a quantum of residential together with a proportion of new arts performance space, perhaps. So what I'm saying is, in a crude way, is just elevate its importance and say where development for arts and arts supportive uses are or might be considered, they could be used as a planning benefit, a mixed-use planning benefit.